Hello and thank you for choosing Trial Timer. This brief tutorial will give you everything you need to know in order to start using the program right away. Let's get started.
To begin, we need to create a new case. To do this, select New Case from the File menu and you will be presented with the Create New Case screen. Enter a case name, keeping in mind that this will be the default file name for your case when we save it later. If you know the time limits for the opening, evidentiary, and closing phases of your case, enter them here. If you do not have set time limits for any or all of these, just leave the limit option set to the default No. When you have finished, click the Done button at the bottom and you'll be taken back to the main screen. The allotted times will now appear in the appropriate summary tabs at the bottom of the screen. The Start button is now enabled and green, indicating that the application is ready to begin timing your trial or prep session. There are two options in the Settings menu that you need to be aware of. The first is the Always on Top setting. Often the individual in charge of timekeeping has more than one task to perform during the trial. If you have several windows open on your computer, it's easy to get distracted and forget to stop and start the timer. By selecting Always on Top, the trial timer window will sit on top of any windows that you have open. This will help with the out of sight, out of mind problem that may arise. You are still able to minimize trial timer with Always on Top checked. With time trials, the court may agree to have objection durations count against the objecting party's time. This helps to cut down on long speaking objections, which would burn up the other side's clock. If objection penalty is checked, all time that elapses during an objection will be counted against the objecting party. We will discuss this more later. Before you click the Start button, make sure that the proper party is selected, plaintiff or defendant, and that you have the category selected that pertains to the current part of your trial. Opening and closing count against their respective time allotments and are tracked in separate summary tabs at the bottom of the screen. All other categories are applied to the evidentiary phase of the trial. When the Start button is clicked, it will change from green to red and the label changes to Stop. This also enables the Pause and Objection buttons. The Detail window is updated with the current segment information, which side is presenting, and the start time. Because opening is selected as the category, there is a speaker field where you may enter the name of the attorney delivering opening arguments. You may also enter notes in the Notes section at this time. When the Stop button is clicked, the Detail window is updated with the stop time, duration of the segment, and category. The Speaker and Notes fields will not appear in the Detail window if they are blank. The Stop button will also cause the plaintiff and defendant selection to switch automatically. Clicking Start again will begin segment 2 and the process begins again. Each start-stop cycle is tracked in Trial Timer as segments. This will come into play later when we discuss the editing features of the application. After opening arguments are concluded, we move into the evidentiary phase of the case and the main screen changes slightly. When the direct category is selected, the speaker field changes to Witness. If you wish to track the attorney doing the questioning at this point, that information can be put into the Notes field, which is also very useful to keep information regarding to exhibits and whether or not they are admitted. We will assume at this point the court wants to take a morning break. Rather than stopping the trial timer, we can simply hit the Pause button. When testimony resumes, click the Resume button. The length of the pause will be calculated and you can continue. When opposing counsel objects, simply click the Objection button, which will enable the Objection Notes field. You are not required to enter any information, but if you do, it will be added to the Detail window when the Resume button is clicked. The duration of the objection is counted against the cumulative time for the objecting side as seen in the Summary tab below. When the Stop button is clicked, all information in the Notes field is added to the Detail window. Unlike openings and closings, the Witness field is not cleared at this point. You will need to change the category selection at this time to the appropriate selection. We will now assume that court has ended for the day. The first thing we need to do is save our case. In fact, it is a good idea to save the case periodically throughout the day. We have all lost a document at one point or another due to unforeseen problems. Backing up often is a good general practice. If you need to share the time information with others on your team or opposing counsel, there are a couple of options available to you. From the File, Save Report menu option, you have two choices for saving the contents of the detail window, text or CSV. When you select the text option, you will be given the additional option of saving as plain text or rich text. Rich text will preserve the color and boldface fonts you see in the detail window. The CSV option will export all the data into a format that will readily open in Excel or any spreadsheet program of your choice. If you just need to send out a summary of the current time standings, you can right-click on the Summary tab at the bottom of the screen and select Copy to Clipboard. The contents of the selected tab can then be pasted into a document, email, or instant message. As we begin the next day's proceedings, start Trial Timer and select Load Cases from the File menu. When the case is loaded, all of the data from the previous day will be appended to the Detail window and the Summary tabs will be updated. Select the party that will start the day, choose the appropriate category, and click Start. Occasionally, you may need to make modifications to the case, times, and information. Select File, Edit. Here we see options for editing the case settings and detail information. The case settings are simply the initial entered limitations or lack thereof for each timed face of the case. You can edit any of these values from this screen. Clicking the Done button will cause Trial Timer to recalculate the allotted and remaining times for the case. Selecting the Detail option will take you to a screen that is very much like the main screen. Navigating through the case data is done via the controls at the bottom right of the screen. Moving between segments is done via the Previous and Next buttons or by indicating a segment to jump to and then clicking the Go button. As we click through, you will reach one of the pause entries. The 3.01 you see indicates that this is a subsegment of segment 3. The format is followed for objections. It is important to note that you cannot use the Jump To feature to move to subsegments. You will have to jump to the parent segment, then click Next until you reach the subsegment you wish to edit. Each segment houses the start and stop information as well as the speaker, witness, and notes, if any. If you did not initially enter information in some of these fields when tracking time, you can do so now. You will need to click the Update button if you modify the entries for a segment. You may change the duration of a segment by selecting the start or stop time you wish to modify, then use the plus and minus buttons for the amount of hours, minutes, or seconds you wish to change the time by. The changes will not be applied until you click the Update button. If you navigate to another segment or click the Done button, your changes will be lost. The Delete button may be used to delete the current segment or subsegment. Overall times impacted will be recalculated. You will be prompted to confirm deletion. There is no undo feature for this action. And there you have it, everything you need to know in order to use Trial Timer on your next case. We hope that this video has answered all of your questions, but if it has not, please feel free to email support@evidenceapps.com or post in our forum, which can be found on our website.